You might have heard of the concept of gamification. It's a buzzword that gets thrown around a lot in business contexts. One of those terms or expressions that people tend to abuse to make an impact with their presentations, without a lot of substance backing it up. Like big data, next generation, or Metroid Prime 4, now in development. But what does gamification actually mean? Well, one obvious definition would be making a game out of another type of activity. Which at first sounds pretty wholesome, right? Wrong. As I mentioned, gamification is primarily a concept in business, and like most things in business, it sadly usually serves the main purpose of sucking money out of your credit card. Gambling is one of the most perverse examples of gamification, essentially putting the predatory practice of exploiting the customer's psychology in a fancy disguise, often with the nerve to romanticize the luck of the few successful players or suggesting that you're engaging in a noble competition of skill. We don't need to go too far to find gamification applied even in our everyday lives. Just take a look at social media like Twitter and what was that crusty old one called again? Oh yeah, Facebook. The way how likes from other people are supposed to hook you on the experience of using the app, the rush that little notification bubbles induce in your brain. Those are probably the driest examples of the kind of gamification that is intended to trap the user to remain addicted. It's when platforms simply slap numbers and badges and titles on top of things, and we all just want to have more and more and more of them. By the way, have I asked you to like this video and subscribe to my channel yet? In that regard, it might be interesting to provide a more nuanced definition for gamification. Yukai Cho, one of the pioneers of the concept, partly defines gamification as the kind of design that places the most emphasis on human motivation. So, we talk about human-focused design instead of function-focused design. We don't want the experience to be the most productive and efficient, we want it to satisfy the human psyche. And that man sure knows his way around the human psychology, with his website promising me every day that only today I can get his gamification course for free. Irony aside, he admittedly makes a good point with this definition of gamification, and it's the basis for a well-constructed framework he established that I will refer to again a bit later. Gamified experiences are the ones that, before anything else, try to appeal to the user like a game would. And what are games if they are not fun? Trying to make otherwise simply productive activities fun as well can have many benevolent purposes too. Just think about teachers trying to convey knowledge through games in class. Gamification isn't only limited to the shady world of business, but it's an interesting subject in other disciplines like education and, well, game design, obviously. We have the cruel type of gamification that is centered around taking advantage of people's behavior for monetary benefit, and the type that predominantly strives to make tasks more enjoyable for people. This is gamification with soul. And today I would like to talk about a game that does a remarkably good job at gamifying exercise with soul. Ring Fit Adventure. Depending on who you ask, Nintendo sometimes is attributed this reputation of being the good guys in the video game industry. Okay, right now literally no one would call them the good guys. But you know what I mean, right? This family-friendly branding often seemed to put them in a good light in the past. Anyway, let's move on. Going into it with full honesty, Nintendo has demonstrated their fair share of highly questionable business practices themselves, especially in recent years, with cases like the Joy-Con drift, limited time releases for both physical and digital versions of games, and not including Kazuma Kiryu from the Yakuza series and Smash yet. But it is true that Nintendo seems to follow at least a few moral principles that they mostly stick to, and I believe that Ring Fit Adventure is one of their best products in a long time from that standpoint. Ring Fit Adventure is a game that tries to make exercise more enjoyable, and it is a one-time purchase. The gamification here isn't about trying to get you addicted and continue to come back and pour more money into this thing. Once you bought the game, you won't give Nintendo any more financial profit if you use it more, at least if we're not taking potential reselling into account. The game does have a higher price point than other Switch titles, but it's arguably reasonable considering that it comes with an additional peripheral that is central to how the game works, the Ring-Con, and a leg strap. Now, please keep in mind that I have been playing Ring Fit Adventure for about 45 days as of the writing of this video. I think I've spent enough time with it to judge it as an ongoing gamified activity, but I cannot give you any opinion from my side on how it holds up in the long run. That being said, the ringcon itself, for example, seems surprisingly sturdy, which should not be as surprising with all the stretching and squashing it is designed to suffer. It offers just the right resistance so that you have to put real physical effort into the exercise, while at the same time it feels good to hold in your hands, or between your legs, and it deforms easily enough to let you see the effect of your force. Ring Fit Adventure features various game modes, with the titular Adventure mode in the spotlight, where you follow a relatively simple but still pretty engaging RPG campaign on your quest to defeat the evil Drago. You have a huge number of worlds that each feature a variety of levels which require you to exercise to play through them. Other minor game modes include one where you can choose your own workout sequence from the exercises the game offers, a broad selection of minigames, one where you can do basic exercise that doesn't require the game to be on your TV screen, and a rhythm game mode that was added a few months after launch. The Adventure mode is, without a doubt, the main selling point of Ring Fit Adventure, and definitely designed to be the prime experience of your playing time, so it will be the protagonist of our discussion today. In Adventure mode, when you go into a typical level, you travel through various landscapes by physically running on the spot, all while collecting coins and useful items and sometimes battling monsters. In the turn-based battles, you choose among your available fit skills to attack your enemies. Each fit skill corresponds to a specific type of exercise, like for example doing squats or squashing the ringcon in a specific position. By physically performing these exercises, you deal damage to enemies, which, upon defeat, reward you with more coins and items and, of course, experience points. Gather enough experience points and you level up, which makes your attack and defense stats raise. Sometimes you meet other characters with their little stories on the way, and your journey through most worlds culminate in a boss battle stage, fighting against a particularly powerful foe. As you can see, the Adventure mode really plays like the prototypical RPG. On its own, this will be nothing too impressive, but it manages to integrate actual exercise in an authentic feeling gaming experience, offering a long-term workout program that is a solid RPG campaign at the same time. But what does Ring Fit Adventure do so well to gamify exercise? Where does the added value come from? At this point, it might be worth to go back to our old friend from the business side, Yukai Cho. He elaborated a pretty exhaustive framework to evaluate the nature of gamification models, which he called the octalysis. I'm going to stay on the surface level of his framework and simply borrow the 8 main principles of gamification that he uses to create the structure of his analysis. So let's have a look at how Ring Fit Adventure follows these 8 principles. Number 1. Accomplishment. This is probably the most important principle to Ring Fit Adventure. It's all about the rewards you get for playing, like how you level up and become stronger, and the quests that you can complete to get prizes like coins and items. It's the typical things that you know from video games, but Ring Fit Adventure understands one very crucial point. It is a game where you exercise to do anything, so you put actual work into any action. And as such, the game rewards you for everything you do. Every single squat you do in the middle of a level to jump to the next area, all the ring presses you do in the crate mashing minigame, they are all factored into the experience points that you are awarded at the end. In fact, even when you start a level and then quit it before finishing, you still receive all the experience points that you have earned so far. This is not necessarily the case in all RPGs, because oftentimes the challenge precisely consists of making it to the end of a level or a battle. But here, the core objective is to exercise, so if you did some workout, you are going to be rewarded for it. Number 2. Meaning. This refers to some higher purpose that you pursue while playing, and you can find this twofold in Ring Fit Adventure. On the one hand, at the in-game level, you have the simple but effective narrative where you are the hero who is able to put a stop to the evil deeds of the bad dragon. You meet townsfolk on the way who come to you with their problems, and they thank you when you help them get back to their normal lives. The game doesn't take itself too seriously and has fun character designs and a lot of small jokes in the dialogue. At the same time, the antagonistic Drago has some personality and a backstory that seems to hint that he is not simply pure evil. All in all, the writing is just charming enough to make you care about this adventure instead of just being a silly excuse. On the other hand, there's of course your real-life goal of eventually becoming fitter while playing. And again, the game is very much aware that exercising is your main objective after all. it talks to you, as the player, directly about your workout sessions and tries to give you tips to maintain healthy habits, both related to your Ring Fit sessions and also just general advice for your everyday life to stay fit. Number 3. Empowerment. Many games need to master this to feel good for the player. It is often important that you can experiment with options and get the corresponding feedback for your actions. It is what embraces the unique interactivity of games the most. In Ring Fit Adventure, you keep acquiring new fit skills to use as attacks in battle, and eventually, you will have to decide what you want to keep in your moveset. Each fit skill has 3 attributes: range, strength, and color. The range tells you how many enemies you can attack at the same time, and the strength is simply the attacking power of that fit skill. The color is related to what kind of exercise you are doing. So, for instance, the ones focusing on your arms and upper body are red, and the ones that mainly target your legs are blue. The cool thing is, targeting red enemies with a red fit skill, for instance, will deal extra damage. So taking these attributes into account, there is some actual strategy to how you approach battles, just like in a real RPG. But it remains simple enough, so you don't spend your workout time thinking about complex tactics. You can change your moveset at any time and adapt to the upcoming challenges. Oftentimes, the game will recommend a certain color for fit skills for the next level. There's also very important feedback on how you perform the exercise. You have very clear cues to know how long you have to maintain certain poses or what rhythm you should keep up with your movement, both visually and in the audio, to make sure that you perform the fit skill properly even if you can't look at the screen. If you are a bit off on your timing or your postures, you deal less damage to enemies, and the sound effects are less satisfying. So that attack isn't completely wasted energy, but it gives you a little nudge so you're focused to do it better next time. You also get little reminders while exercising to breathe correctly and concentrate on the right muscles. You really feel like you're learning to exercise the right way. Number 4. Ownership. Again, there are 2 aspects to this: the customization and your in-game wealth. At the beginning of Adventure Mode, you can customize your character. There aren't really options for different body types or faces, which is a shame because even being a fit person can come in all shapes and sizes, but you can still add your little touch to the protagonist. While playing, you can use the in-game money to buy new clothes for your character, which also affect their stats and give bonus effects in good old RPG style. Sadly, the game doesn't learn from the lessons that recent RPGs have embraced, and the stat bonuses are tied to the specific clothes. So if you want to have the strongest character, you will just have to keep changing them into the newest clothes you get, instead of choosing your favorite. After a while of playing the game, you also unlock a skill tree, where you can decide which bonuses you want to prioritize to suit your gameplay style. Tailoring the character and strategies to your taste, collecting more clothes and fit skills, and progressing with the skill tree make you feel like you're making the experience your own. Number 5. Social influence. We don't play video games in a vacuum, and sharing with our friends often makes us enjoy them even more. Ring Fit Adventure has some in-game options to compare high scores between you and your friends who also play the game. The designated button for taking screenshots and recording gameplay is changed so that you have easy access while playing with the Ringcon. And whenever you hit certain milestones, like achieving a total of 1000 squats, the game will give you these cute little congratulations screens that make for perfect bragging opportunities on social media. Number 6. Unpredictability. Most games would become boring if we just did exactly the same things over and over again, and that is doubly true for Ring Fit Adventure, which tries to make something as tedious as exercise sessions a fun time. A lot of effort here was put into ensuring that your workout sessions have enough variety. The progressing narrative is one way to keep new stuff coming to the player, but the gameplay itself is mixing it up constantly as well. In between the usual kind of levels, the game throws in some minigame challenges, special battles against rare enemies with bonus EXP and coin rewards, themed workout challenges, and also boss battles. From time to time, you unlock quests that often require you to replay levels with special conditions, like hopping over all monsters to avoid fights, or clear the levels with a maximum number of steps. And again, the game carefully takes the main objective of fitness into account, because it also tries to balance your workout with different kinds of exercises. The colored enemies that I mentioned earlier incentivize keeping a varied moveset, and within levels and boss fights, you sometimes face special challenges that will work different muscle groups. Number 7. Scarcity. Here we start to dig into the realm of the ugliest tactics of gamification models to keep you hooked. One key example would be how some games give you rewards or let you play again only after some time has passed, so that you feel forced to come back to optimize your gaming. This is usually accompanied by terrible monetization systems, where you can pay to avoid having to wait. Ring Fit Adventure doesn't do any of that, and you could even say it turns it on the head by helping you pace your workout sessions correctly. The game reminds you to take a break when you're tired, and it shows you several options that quantify the exercise you've done so far in your current session. You have the total time spent purely exercising, so not counting when you're fiddling with menus and dialogue, and estimates of the calories you've burned and the distance you've run. Before starting a level, the game gives you a rough idea on how intense it is going to be, so that you can decide for yourself if you still want to keep going or if it is time to stop. And I don't think that it is merely a coincidence that most quests unlock just before or after the demanding boss fights, so that you have more options of smaller challenges if you don't feel up to the more intense battles or levels right now, but still want to keep going a bit. And finally, number 8. Avoidance. Many gamification models punish you if you don't keep playing. You might be missing out on time-limited events or even lose progress that you've achieved so far. Luckily, Ring Fit Adventure doesn't have any business with this. The game itself will never penalize you for not playing, but it does remind you that making a habit of exercising without overdoing it and setting yourself attainable goals will help you to notice the advantages of becoming fitter. After going through all of the 8 principles, it's quite easy to appreciate how Ring Fit Adventure takes only the positive aspects of gamification and tries to make the most out of them. However, there's still more to it. We could talk about principles and practices all day, but there's one thing that no business model can teach us. Ring Fit Adventure is, first and foremost, a game. And that is what imbues Ring Fit Adventure with a soul. What I mean by this is that, despite it clearly respecting the fact that you play because you want to exercise and being built around this idea, it feels like an actual game. Compare this to Nintendo's own Wii Fit. The Wii-era Nintendo was so obsessed with the success of their new console in the casual market, appealing to people who usually don't play games, that their whole branding revolved about this neutral, sterile look. The Wii was originally released only in white, and looked like something that blends in with the rest of your electric appliances around your TV. In 2006, the launch year of the Wii, Nintendo even changed their logo to this dull grey version. Think about how all of this was reversed again when the failure of the Wii U made them realize that they need to tackle their branding from another angle. The Switch features Joy-Cons of many colors and hits the right balance of looking like something purely intended for playing, but keeping a certain elegance. And in 2016, 1 year before the Switch's release, they went back to red as the main color of their logo. All of this is reflected when you put Wii Fit and Ring Fit Adventure side to side. Wii Fit feels much more like a minigame collection to sell you new hardware and motion controls, kind of devoid of substance. It dipped into this whole thing of trying to give you an analysis if you're overweight or not, which it frankly should not try to meddle with, that pertains only to actual professionals. The visuals and music all make it seem like it's some random software installed in a rehabilitation center, instead of the cool new game from your favorite toy manufacturer, Nintendo. But Ring Fit Adventure understands that it's a game that makes you exercise, but a game. It does have its own selection of minigames, but they're not the main attraction and are used cleverly to bring variety into the experience. It is smart enough to stay in its lane, asking how you, the player, feel to help you evaluate yourself if you're exercising right, and it recommends you to consult professional advice if you have any serious doubts. It keeps inquiring you if you want to adjust the difficulty, but has the deference to make sure you're not annoyed by the game constantly asking. And its whole presentation, from the colorful worlds and fun designs to the excellent music that some other RPGs would envy, suggests you, hey, let's make exercising fun. Let's make a game out of this. It's not all perfect. I already mentioned that it could learn from some of the lessons that recent RPGs are already incorporating, like not tying stat boosts to specific outfits. The game encourages you to do dynamic stretching before exercising to warm up by awarding you with experience points, but weirdly doesn't do the same if you choose to do static stretching after exercising to cool down. Sometimes fit skills that feel much harder to pull off are actually weaker against enemies than others. Although this probably depends a lot on your specific body and fitness, and it does make an effort to help incorporating fit skills that you have abandoned in your moveset again, by letting you unlock higher level versions of the same fit skills that now deal more damage. Not every exercise and minigame works 100% well with the motion controls all the time, while I have to say that they're definitely a minority. And although the game tries to provide a nice variety, it also clearly recycles some of the level layouts throughout the different worlds. But still, nowhere else have I seen gamification with so much soul as in Ring Fit Adventure. I went in expecting making my exercising just a bit more bearable, but it actually made it something I look forward to. Hello everyone! Thank you so much for watching. Please leave any suggestions for other topics or games that you'd like me to tackle in a video in the comments or on Twitter or both. You also help me a lot by leaving a like and subscribing if you haven't done so yet. I hope you keep enjoying my content and I look forward to seeing you again soon.